one of the biggest lies of the 21st century, one of the biggest lies of newly independent states is the idea of democracy. That, you have a democratic regime governing the country. Many of those who speak very eloquently about democracy forget to understand that what you see during daylight can be worked out under darkness. What you see passed on the floor of Parliament, what you see happening in the press, what you see finally on the floor of the judicial courts. The democracy never understood a time when this thing will be negotiated before they become public. And like I said, we're living in a time where we have a government which has stayed in power for the last 37 years and still counting. And it's what I've called a modern autocracy. Modern autocracies are smarter. They're smarter in the sense that they're not crude. They're not bereft of manners. They negotiate. They negotiate. They work like markets. Markets negotiate behind the curtains. They work like banks. They negotiate behind the curtains. So we are witnessing perhaps the best example of a modern autocracy which thrives on negotiation, right? So if you have a contentious issue on the floor of Parliament, Mr. Museveni will first of bus NRM MPs to either Chankwanzi or Nakasero, not Red, Nakasero or Entebbe, and they'll have this negotiated before it comes to the floor of Parliament. But he will not only bus his NRM MPs, he will also ferry opposition leaders so that this is negotiated, right? If you remember very vividly, during the Tujukwateco campaign, Mr. Museveni negotiated with members of the opposition more than negotiated with his NRM MPs, right? The idea was that they should not boycott voting against him. So Mr. Museveni mobilized opposition MPs to actually vote against him, because that's the only way it would appear like a contest, right? You imagine if it was 300 against 0. So Museveni win by 300 against 0, it wouldn't make sense. So he had to make sure that these opposition MPs were negotiated into staying in Parliament so that they can vote against him, so as to appear like a context. But if you've lived in this country, you know that most of these major political cases are often negotiated settlements. They are never things that are concluded on the floor of the judiciary. They are negotiated settlements. So we are witnessing one of those vivid manifestations of negotiated settlements in our politics. And that happens when you have a modern autocrat.